Hello and welcome to another weekly episode of the Beer Fridge podcast. On this week's episode, is it about time we lose the word craft?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, sure, whole of real beer, real breweries, real opinions, the Beer Fridge podcast. As always, whenever you listen to this episode, make sure you subscribe and hit that ding-a-ling-a-ling to be notified of every single episode. You can show your support by giving us a 5-star rating or show your official support by going to patreon.com/Beer Fridge podcast. As always, I am joined by my drinking friends in the form of Scott and MD. Good evening, gents. Oh, and Callum, sorry. Good evening. You mother trucker. Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
If you join the Patreon, you will quickly realise what we were talking about there. If you didn't, then you'll never, ever, ever, ever know.
No.
Full squad in the house, which is good. And as always, we'll go around the table, kick things off to see what we're drinking.
Let's go around the table.
Cheers, Harry.
Let's go. And he's back in the house. Go for it. Go, Scott. Yeah, whoever. Callum, you're drinking.
I'll go. If you want, I'm ready.
Go on then, Scott.
I don't know much about this beer, but I was trying to shut up about it, and I would have started talking about it had I opened my gub. So this is... I got Baron in my bruiser box
Nice.
this month, which is incredible. Obviously, 8 500ml cans appeared on the doorstep, which you cannot sniff at. And as I was saying to the guys when we met up on Saturday, there's two 6+% IPAs, which I'm enjoying one of now, and a Tipper in there, which is excellent.
Excellent stuff.
That's no unheard of, but I'm really pleased with that 8 beer box. A few 5%ers in there as well, and one 3.2, so a kind of tabley, kind of lighter pale ale number as well, which I think is fair when you've got an 11% triple IPA in there. This beer that I'm having at the moment is a red IPA
Ooh.
called Gunslinger, and it's 6.2%. It is Eldorado, Idaho 7, and HBC 630.
Oh, here we go.
One of the swiftest Googlers in the West can Google me an HBC 630 and tell me what it is. Wackaging. Love as a red IPA. Gunslinger is a tiny tank beer, not overly strong, but very hoppy and full-bodied. Yeast chosen was a Kveik strain and fermented at 31 degrees. Cold-side hops are added post-fermentation, red berries, grapefruit, and sweet, sticky malts. So you've got dark Munich, Vienna, caramel, Caragold, dextrin malt, Crystal 100 as well. The hop bill I mentioned. The yeast is WHC high voltage. And it even
When we
gives you
touch. When we kiss.
I'll not read it because my periodic table isn't as strong as it should be. But they've even got the water chemistry and stuff on there, which is excellent. Love that
cool.
That's
in
cool.
a label, which is super cool. It looks excellent in the glass.
It does.
It's got
It's a
that
great
copper
colour.
kind of red IPA colour. Malt, backbone, and spades. It's got that bit of kind of almost, no, it's not super rye, but it's enough. And it's got that kind of full-bodied, kind of proper hoppy flavour as well. I think it's an excellent iteration of a red IPA. A great style. One alongside black IPAs, I think I would like to see and taste more of.
Nice.
Excellent stuff. A good starter.
Did you manage to Google Delk? No.
No. Sorry.
I'm not. It's the aroma profile from it is, and what you've said there. It's hitting those notes, so it's saying berry, citrus, stone fruit, and tropical. But I'm not googling quick enough to find out.
Sweet fruits and berries like raspberry and cherry.
Yes.
Sweet candy like esters and lactones, giving creamy notes of peach and banana.
There you
There you
go.
go.
Lovely stuff.
Lovely.
All days just name all the fruits.
You Kima can keep naming them.
All the
Yeah.
seas.
As long as they keep delivering them, I don't mind.
No, exactly.
Exactly that. Excellent stuff.
True that. Go on then, D. What you got?
I'm on straight from tank. So
Straight from tank. What?
it's
Choke.
Unnamed.
unreleased. No, it's West's upcoming limited edition Templeton beer, which is a Vienna lager, 5.3%. I believe
Maybe.
the badge will say, and it's everything that you want from the style of beer. To be honest, I'm first swig. Let me taste. There you go. I'll give you the colour. So
That's
it's
good.
it's on its road to like a darker, like it's actually on its road to like a red lager basically, but sweet, malty. It's got a sweetness to it, and I wish I picked Lucio's brain a little bit more in terms of yeast and things. He did tell me it was a lager yeast only, but it's got like the kind of the dryness that I like kind of love from like a pilsner, like a Kolsch, stuff like that. Like it's sort of just makes you want to drink it and drink it and drink it. It's really tasty, and it's tank, so it's undercarbed in terms of where it's supposed to be just now, but it's like cask lager, I suppose.
Yeah.
Is maybe the way to describe it.
Awesome.
I've got to admit,
Very good.
if this is the flavour profile that's coming, I'm extremely excited about being able to sell it and drink more of it. So looking forward, and you boys should too, put it that way.
Sounds good, mate. Sounds good. Cal, what you got, mate?
I am drinking the latest delivery that we've had from our friends at Stuart, and it's their collaboration with Edinburgh Dungeons. They're getting on that sort of Halloweeny bandwagon, and it's a blood orange hazy pale, and it's actually pretty decent, to be honest. It's 4.6%, so it's nice and light, and it just kind of tastes like their standard hazy pale, but with added blood orange flavour, which is pretty much what it says on the tin. Is everybody else hearing me all right?
Aye.
Right. So, it's as it says on the tin, it's blood orange and it's Citra, Jester, and Mandarina Bavaria. So I don't think that's their standard hazy IPA recipe. I might be wrong, but I don't know. But yeah, it's super cool can art. It's got that kind of
Yeah.
Edinburgh evil people's pictures on it and various different other things. But yeah, the blood orange flavour really does come through in spades, and as it says on the tin, it's deliberately low in bitterness. Like sometimes when you amp up that orangey flavour, it kind of goes hand in hand with that bitterness that can turn some people off. But this one's really light, and quite sweet, and easy to drink. And yeah, it's definitely going to appeal to sort of mass market if you.
That was that.
That's the wildlife.
That's
in
Bat-
Northern
that's
France there
Batman.
making an appearance. Aye.
That's aye, the bats.
It's definitely going to appeal to mass market, and yeah, if you're seeing this in a pub, the pump clip is the same as the can art that we've got, and it's super cool. So have a
That is
taste.
awesome.
Aye, the can art's wicked. I had the can. I had one of them the other day, and it was exactly like you said. You definitely get the blood orange flavours coming through. I've got another one here, which I will enjoy any moment now because I have nearly finished, and it's our creation that we did with Stuart, sticking on that vibe, and it's All the Seas, which we have now luckily all had a sample of, all had a go and tried it, and I think it's a success, gents. I mean, for me, having it last week, it was coming out a wee bit sweeter, but since last week trying it, and it seems to have mellowed out a wee bit the sweetness in the bottle, and it's tasting awesome. chuffed with it, very happy.
Aye, definitely.
Definitely.
MD, obviously, last week me and you were unfortunate enough to not have all the seeds at the time, but have you sampled it yet?
Yeah, it was as sweet as what you mentioned. I didn't find it overly bitter, but I felt it was on, like I said, I felt like it was on style. I felt like it was really complex, is maybe the right word to describe. I felt there was a lot going on. It kind of every mouthful you kind of got give you something a wee bit extra, and I thought it was a great. Considering we've never ever brewed a Westie before, and trying to get all the kind of the main characteristics in there, I think we hit. I think we hit probably a good 80%, 70% of them, and which means there's room for improvement, which means we're just going to have to do it again. So that's all well and good for me. And but I really enjoyed it. I do wish the piney, earthy kind of aspects of like a true West Coast kind of came through early rather than it being a bit sweeter. But other than that, it was honestly, it was really tasty. I'm looking forward to the Patreon guys getting a chance to try it. I know there was a few of them mentioned it when we were blithering at the weekend.
We'll get that sorted this week,
and we'll definitely get.
We'll get that sorted this week and get some beers out to you guys. And Scott and Mark and I will divvy it up and we'll send up some stuff.
The perks of being a Patreon member. Patreon.com/Beer Fridge Podcast. Right then. Right, let's get into this week's news in the craft beer world and find out what's new.
News update.
Right, and this is the opportunity for us to tell you some of the news in the craft beer world. Well, it might be new beers, it might be actual proper articles and proper news as such. And we'll go around the table once again and pick some bits out for you. I will kick things off for you guys in case you're catching up. We mentioned it before in the podcast with the new alcohol duty that kicked in a couple of months ago, or more than that now. And we mentioned on the podcast, will we see a change in the level of alcohol in beer, and is it going to be purpose to avoid the duty, etc.? Well, one of the big boys, or bigger boys, macros in the world, Kolsch, are watering down to save 23 pence per fucking bottle to avoid tax. So Kolsch have decided on their lager they're going to save on the alcohol tax on their premium Pilsner. It's going to go from 4% ABV to 3.4% ABV. This will save Asahi about 23 pence on duty for every 440ml bottle that's sold in the UK. Sales of Kolsch have already dropped dramatically, and they have once again dropped the level of the ABV. A decade ago, it was sitting at 5%. They changed it to 4%, and it's now going all the way down to 3.4%. So the big boys are doing it.
Schwingtop?
It is still in a Schwingtop. It's still in a Schwingtop.
They can't put the Schwingtop on them. That's shite for Grolsch. Like, fucking do it properly and stop fucking reducing the ABV and stuff. Just
we've seen it from a lot of the big guys, like
I know,
dropping the ABV, and then obviously Brewdog. I've seen folk doing it, and then they've went right. We'll do our cold beer, the lager that they did that I mentioned last week, as a kind of a dirty secret beer, so to speak. And then, funnily enough, I mentioned that, and then on the on the Discord, they're like, I have Stella and I have X, Y, and Z other beers, so everyone has them, a beer for every day. But they've came in and took over that market at 3.4%, looking like the fucking angels that they are not, and kind of try to grab that market as much as they can. But everyone's going to be doing it. We've seen Northern Monk have done it with some of the beers. Faith has changed ABV, I think twice, and I don't think it'll be the last.
No, I agree that it's definitely going to be par for the course, and from a business point of view, you can kind of understand.
Yeah.
You know, you've already got a place in the market with your beer. You want to hold on to that market, as in, yeah, I still want to be able to buy Faith. I still want to be able to buy, generic beer from generic brewery.
Uh-huh.
and most people aren't really going to care or notice or be bothered if the ABV drops by 0.5%. It's easier for breweries to do that than it is to create a brand new beer at a lower percentage and try and sell that beer in an already crowded marketplace. I totally get that, but it's just
Again, it's when they're already losing money, and it's not making any profit. That makes sense,
smack
like you said.
desperation.
It makes sense to avoid that tax because you're just going to be losing even more money. So try and make some profit and recoup some of that. But
I
sorry to
know
kill you.
You watch what you're doing, but Mark, what we spoke to you before because you're on the inside, no, because you know more than the rest of us. I jest. But
The backhand
we've spoken
compliment.
before about how creative accounting when it comes to rounding of percentages and the swing that can go. So how much is that? How much do you think that recipe's actually changed? Because obviously it's what it's marketed at. So how we know there's a swing.
There's a 0.5% that everybody's not allowed to know about, but so like beer can be. The thing is, if they're brewing the beer at 4%, they can make 3.4 legally and under the tax, so they could brew it at 3.9%. Do you know what I mean?
I'm wondering how much of it, like, what I guess with my tinfoil hat on, I'm thinking is how they've been marketing it. What was it before? What did they
4.
change it to get to? So was it 4? Was it always it? Like if they
Because they changed. It went from 5 to 4.
0.2, it's not really much of a swing to get to that, because it could have been 5 to 4.5 or whatever, or could have been 5 to 4 or 5 to 3.8 or 5 to 3.6 before. They could still have been selling it at 4 because they didn't want to make the each seem as harsh at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They used the 0.5 creatively up the way, maybe. I don't know. I'm spitballing, but I'm worrying.
I would assume a lot of breweries would do, like, the art of brewing. The skill of it is hitting the recipe and hitting the ABV and hitting your gravity every single time. There's obviously so many variables, and we know that, having spoken to plenty of brewers, missing a gravity by 0.1, 0.2% means your beer's going to be up 0.1, 0.2%, give or take, and having to liquor back, to make sure that you hit specific ABV levels. That's kind of where that comes in. The big boys are monitored so heavily, though, on that it's that the ABV. I can't see it being such a big difference. And to be completely honest, I think they will have the head brewers and the assistant brewers and all the rest of it will be working on how can we create the same body and the same flavour. Like, we know that with all the conversations we've had with the introduction of incognito hops and all that kind of stuff, where you can get aromas and flavours and all the rest of it without using nearly as much on the hop side. So the thing that's the tricky thing at that low ABV, and we say it all the time, it's about how does the brewers get the body into the beer? Like, because a 4% pale versus a 3.4% pale, you can normally tell the difference, in terms of the body. The hop flavour and the actual flavour of the beer doesn't always miss. And we've said plenty of times, there's plenty of beers at 3.5% that are unbelievably flavoursome for the ABV, and they're exactly what you want from that lower side of the beer. But it's how they balance the body up, and that's always the tricky part. So I would agree with you. Like, I think, with your tinfoil hat on, you're thinking, how are we just going to miss, or is this a way for or are we never going to notice whatsoever?
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a lot of breweries that just change the ABV in their beer. We've seen it with Carlin, we've seen it with Tennent's, we've seen it with
Foster's done it.
breweries that we've started at 4.4% and we're at 3.4% now. And like you said, obviously we're talking about Asahi, and it's quite frightening for me that Asahi, here's me putting sales hat on in terms of an industry, but if Asahi are looking to save 22p every time, don't get me wrong, the volume that they must be punting out, but we're talking about Grolsch here.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Asahi, like one of the biggest beers in the world. I know Grolsch must do. I don't know what the volume they must do, and it'll be frightening. But how many taps and how many like do you see of Grolsch anymore? Like I know one.
No, true.
Grolsch has always been more popular down south than it has been up here, so it's kind of difficult. It's kind of difficult to, but yeah, in terms of market share, I mean, I did a wee bit a few weeks back about the most popular beers in the UK and stuff like that, and Grolsch wasn't even in the equation, and there was at least half a dozen, I would say, big and inverted commas beers that I could name before them that would be more popular. So in reality, is this really going to impact all that many people? It just, like you say, it just smacks to me as if it's just a brand that's trying to hang on for that little bit longer.
Yeah. And, like,
Apparently,
you know-
apparently, the annual revenue, this is as of September 2024, annual revenue 750 million.
You've just tuned into this evening on Bloomberg.
Is that in the UK, Gav, or is that
The
in
Dow
No,
Jones
it just says annual. It doesn't. It's not.
globally?
It will be global. It won't be. That's fucking
It'll
mental.
not be in working men's Upton, England.
That's not. That can't be right.
The other breweries in the world, like people like Grolsch and the rest of them, obviously people will see that and they think, well, Grolsch is a brand. I mean, I remember it seems like ages ago, and it actually was now based on my age, but thinking that Grolsch was a stronger beer, if that makes sense, in terms of lagers and stuff like that, when you compared it to the likes of Budweiser that parents drank regularly in the house, or even
It's a premium lager.
I mean, you think about back in the days when MGD, Miller Genuine Draft was a big deal, things like that. And they must be absolutely kicking themselves, these ones, because they've got to reduce their ABV to and try and maintain flavour. Because you could have like a Miller Lite or a fucking Coors or a fucking Bush Light or Natty or whatever they drink in America. They've always tasted like fuck all. So it doesn't matter. You can have whatever, and they've always been 3.4 to 3.6%. So it's getting on that bandwagon, and it's very much without being called it, becoming every lager automatically becomes a light lager.
Just to go back and aggregate myself, that figure that I gave you is for Asahi as a whole. Kolsch as an individual beer on its own did a revenue of, I just had it, 3.4 million. There you go.
There you are. Right.
That
So
makes a
it's-
wee bit
it's
more
not-
sense.
it's
It seemed a bit
a
extreme.
share, really, when you think about it.
Glad we got that in for trading 212.
Yep.
we're not a bit consistent with pushy numbers.
We've got to be. We've got to put the corrections and stuff in.
Factually correct. That's only one news story. Who's up next? Who's ready to rock?
Well, I've only got one, and it's the
Go on
title of the episode. So,
Oh, don't,
aye,
because
well, that's it. I just
save that.
Save that one for last.
Save that because I've got a whole bit in that.
So
Go on then.
I've got a cool one, and it kind of dovetails, but not quite. So this is the article. It's based on some research that was commissioned by SIBA, and it's
Yes.
support for basically it's everybody. Obviously, it's on the basis that everybody wants to try and support local independent brewers. Obviously, we know that for being, I wouldn't call it inside the industry, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Between them, independent brewers employ 10,000 folk, run over 2,000 pubs, bars, and tap rooms, and pay millions in taxes. They're a force for good in the local community. According to which I think we can all agree with. That's Andy Slee, who's the SIBA chief executive. I think they had chief executives at SIBA. Just a boy with I liked a pint, but there we go.
Another
Good
rack.
profesh. YouGov data
Golden
published
flat
today.
cap on.
Yeah.
75% of people surveyed believe consumers are being misled when purchasing beer from once independent craft breweries such as Beavertown, Camden, and Fuller's that are now owned by global beer giants Heineken, Budweiser, and Asahi. People are showing 5 images of beers from once independent breweries that have been bought out by global beer companies. Beavertown, Neck Oil, Fuller's, London Pride, Camden Hells, Brixton, Reliance, the whole works, and Sharp's Doom Bar, which we've enjoyed a few pints of in the past. when informed these breweries were owned by global companies and not independent people, 75% felt they were being fucked over. That's a genuine quote straight from the website. It's fucking ridiculous. How many people get caught with that stuff? So the campaign is to put an indie badge, an indie beer logo when you're buying beer, which can only be used by independent breweries. So it means that when you're out there, it'll not just be your shitey fuddy-duddy camera badge, but you'll get an indie beer sticker or label in amongst your other stuff, and amongst your beer label when you're buying it, so that you know that it's properly independent. And if everybody backs it, it'll act as sort of a trademark or a kind of signifier, a bit like whether it be Scotch beef is the one that immediately comes to mind.
No, you're right, mate. Or when you buy fruit and veg in the supermarket and it's organic, it has to adhere to particular guidelines to be called a certain thing. And I don't know what your definition.
Get a lot of backing.
Yeah.
I don't know what your definition of dovetail is, but that was kind of the whole point of the episode. But we can carry on and talk.
No, it's just about the independent mark. That's all. It doesn't give us any other detail. But you've got backing for Cloudwater, Thornbridge, Attic. It looks like it's going to be well backed. So that's good.
It will be well backed. I'm giggling away because I know that was what Callum was teeing up as well. So that's why I'm giggling away here. MD, you got anything to add or want to mention news-wise?
Not really. Can't think of anything overly news related. So I'll let you move on and I can jump in later.
Fair enough. Well, yes, I'm sure Carl will jump in a sec and reaffirm his status and with regards to what we're talking about. So it goes back to what I was saying at the start in terms of breweries looking to ditch the word craft beer and use, as Scott was saying, the term indie beer to show their independence. And fun enough, everything that I've written down in terms of the survey and stuff, Scott's just told you, which is perfect. There's also an added little bit as well. There's a website, indiebeer.uk, where you can jump on the website, you can type in a brewery, and it will tell you straight away if it's independent or owned by a macro, which I think is fucking cool. And I've gave it a wee whiz, I've gave it a wee go. Typed in Innocent Gun, typed in Drygate and stuff, and Fierce and everybody, and you get a instant that shows you who they're owned by, etc. So,
give us the website again, Gav.
Indiebeer.uk. I'll put it in the description of this episode. I also sent you a link about an hour ago.
But that was on my phone. I'm on the laptop now.
My apologies are only for Herr Muir, but that's fucking typical of the media industry, is it? No, what we'll do is we'll just milk 45 different stories. So there's nothing in the headline and nothing in the spiel here that mentions anything about ditching that word. All it does is use the same stats and the same study to point out that they'll put this wee badge and stuff, which is why I thought I was safe.
But it just shows you like how news in general would folk will just copy it and just post it, and
that's your there's nothing that there isn't a single word mentioned. I've done a Control F just to check. There's nothing mentioned. The word, the C word is not mentioned in there at all.
But it's just scary. Like the survey that was done, and like 40% of people saying that they thought fucking Neck Oil was by Beavertown was an independent beer. And that's just, it's not so much lack of information. It's just.
If you don't know, you don't know, and I think the way it's advertised across, when the Beavertown advert comes up on the telly, and we had it up here for the Euros or whatever it was, the World Cup. It was a brilliant advert, but there was nothing about Heineken in it. Do you know what I mean? There was no this advert sponsored by Heineken. Do you know? So it's a hard one. I kind of go back and forward on this a few times, like typical captain flip flop that I am, right? Because the Beavertown, Camden, for the easy just for those two, like paved the way in craft beer in the UK and opened doors for so many
Yeah.
breweries, and then they were lucky enough to be compensated for the work that they had done, right? And it's really difficult for anybody to then turn around and say, because if you
Well, could you imagine? Could you imagine, like, if let's just say Overtone, for example, or Fierce, like, and they had that wee badge showing that they're an indie beer, and then all of a sudden that indie beer badge gets taken off them because they're being bought over by a corporate, so they're now tempting to go back to being craft. Like, that would be like a visual indicator, and something you'd see straight away. Oh, I don't know, they're back to being craft beer, and you'd be like, oh, I'm not having that.
know,
Like, that would be an indicator to go, oh, they went corporate.
but if the beer, if you still went and Ouija or whatever was still
Yeah.
like it still tasted the way that you remember it in a year's time, and it was still didn't have the badge on it, then fair enough. Do you know what I mean? The issue that I have with it, and this is where I flip back, because the point is, if Bill Simmons comes in here right now and says we're going to buy the Beer Fridge podcast and you're going to come and work for the Ringer, right? And we say, and he's going to put us all on the payroll to talk shit about beer all the time. Are we really going to say, you know what, we're going to stay independent?
No, I'll
Right?
take them.
So,
right.
but the
Here's
point
the
I've
check.
got is, the point then becomes when we move over to the Ringer, and then we're every 4 seconds there's a Spotify advert, or we've got to promote some other pishy podcast that he's got on there to suggest, and then we go away and it's like, this episode's sponsored by Modelo Light. Drink everything Modelo. Do you know? And we end up not doing anything that is orientated around what has made us us. Like, that's the point, that this is where I then flip back on the other side, because let's be honest, Neck Oil is an absolute shower of itself. Gamma Ray, shower of itself. Camden, Hells, and Pale are both utterly garbage now compared to what they once were. And whether that is the industry's caught up with them and overtook them, or they have been mass produced and they can make beer in a totally different way. You don't have to add as much hops. You don't have to add as much flavour. The shelf life's totally different. You're getting it's sitting in a keg for X amount of years before it hits, months before it hits the breweries and hitting the pubs. I don't know. But that's the thing that we always come back to. It's not the independent part. Yeah, I would rather support independent. I'd rather put my money in the pubs nearby me or the breweries nearby me. But if you like Neck Oil or whatever it is, then fair enough. But the issues for me always comes back to quality, and you always seem to get better quality with stuff that's made locally, with the right ingredients, with the time and all the effort, rather than it being mass produced.
But then for you, sorry, Cal, carry on.
I was just going to say, I totally agree, Mark, that and when you think about the big picture, I don't think anybody's in a supermarket and they're deciding to buy Camden or they're deciding to buy Neck Oil because they think that it's local and they think that it's supporting an independent brewery. So I think you can produce the results that you want if you ask the right questions. So I think asking the vast majority of people, do you think that Camden is an independent, and because 90% of the people out there couldn't really give a shit. They're going to go into a pub. They're going to go into a pub and they're going to order what they want to drink. They're going to go into a supermarket. They're going to buy what they want to drink. If there are people out there who are interested in supporting local, or if they go to a new place in the UK, if they go on holiday or they go away for business or whatever, and they go into a pub or they go into a shop locally and they think to themselves, right, what am I going to be buying here? Then yes, I agree that this is a good idea. It's certainly not a bad idea, but it's not going to solve all the problems that are in the brewing industry by any stretch of the imagination.
Not when they've got all those it's like the 440ml cans and 4-packs and things like that. All these breweries that have been taken over still package their cans in the same way as a Brew York or a whomever, and it'll be, well, they've got the brightest colours and the fanciest kind of 4-pack. fucking cut my cousin X or brother Y. We're coming into, I'm not going to mention the other C word, but we're coming to that, and that'll be 100% in everybody's head, because they'll, like you say, Callum, when you delve a wee bit deeper than the shite stats I was reading, folk aren't going to give a flying fuck. You can show, like,
No.
you could show them Budweiser and they would know that that wasn't an independent brewery, but you could pick any another name out the hat that had been bought over or had investment. Like you say, Mark, as well, it's about what you do with that investment. So you could have, are you then giving away your creative backbone or spine, if you like, which I think we can agree, Beavertown, like you say, Beavertown, Camden, shadows of their former selves have been kind of wrecked, whether it be through the backer coming in and saying we can make efficiencies here, and then you've also got people, if there are anybody who's hung about long enough, which I don't think there will be many, but the turnover will be that they'll have not conned themselves, but they'll have tried to con themselves and the drinker into believing that we've created the same taste here. You've no.
Aye, but when we look at it with 2020 hindsight, we can say that Beavertown now is a shadow of what Beavertown was a few years back. But if you go into a Heineken pub, right, what are the Mark will be able to tell you? I mean, yes, they'll be pouring neck oil or Gamma Ray, and they'll be pouring Heineken. But what else are they pouring in terms of
Amstel, Moretti.
Right.
Which I'm pretty sure Gamma Ray and neck oil sit top of that particular pyramid.
Fucking precisely. Right? And but
or
it
an
doesn't,
ex-restaurant when...
it doesn't matter, because when you go into these pubs, whether it's a Heineken pub or whether it's an AB InBev pub or whatever it is, right? These pubs haven't got a local line in because they're not allowed. They haven't got a local line in. So you buying a pint of Gamma Ray isn't taking business away from a local brewery. It's still fucking funneled me into the same place that it would be if you drank a pint of Amstel or a pint of Heineken, right? What you need to be asking if you're going into a pub and you're interested, you ask the person, is there anything local? That's the question you need to ask.
Just don't ask in Wrexham. That's Madry. That's just made in the street.
The only other thing I'll say in terms of if you're, and I'm not backing the non-independent brewer up by any stretch of the imagination. The other thing you've got to have on your the other side of your coin, and we've spoken about it before ad nauseum with the breweries that we speak to. I think they've probably got a wee bit more integrity than that. But if you ask some brewers who would class themselves as independent right now, the people who own that brewery, what's your end game?
Yeah.
Well, I want somebody to come and buy me it.
Just to get me bought it. It's 100%.
Well, how does that sit with it? You're like, are you going to become I'm just an independent warrior breaking even forever, having no pension and just continually plough money into something? If it's a good idea, you want somebody to come out there and say, how about some coin for that? And we'll take it off your hands and you can then walk away into the sunset with your golden handshake or whatever and go away and maybe try something different. If you are a true creative, you can then move on and try something else. Or you can say, well, that's great, I'll just pay the second mortgage off I took it for that. I'll pay that off and I'll maybe have a wee bit left over for kids at university, or I'll go and do something else with it, but keep a wee bit pay off my other mortgage, whatever you want to do with it, I'll take that away. So it's great to have these independent things, and it's great to have that moniker around about what I think is an artisanal product. But you've got to keep one eye on the whole point.
Aye.
With the people that are ploughing money into it is to try and make money. There isn't money in selling beer.
No. Do you think then, see the breweries that are getting involved with this program, this scheme in terms of Indie Beer UK, the ones that are getting involved with it, they're the ones that maybe aren't looking to get bought out as such, and then the ones that you'll tend to find the ones that aren't getting involved or stay away from it, they're the ones that are just so they don't have that. Oh, we're indie beer. Oh, we're back to craft beer.
You can what the question that I would be asking would be, what are you hoping to achieve by having this indie beer? You know, what difference are you expecting this to make to your sales, to your market share, to your position in pubs? Because I really didn't see that it's going to make any difference. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. People aren't but going online and buying buying a case of Camden beers because they think that it's supporting a small independent brewery. I mean, that's just no fucking happening.
No, the
That's
folk that
not
buy
happening.
beer, Cal, I totally agree. The folk that are buying beer online are sourcing locally sourced beer for me.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a favourite brewery and you're on the phone to, I know tenants do a shitload on online sales. Do you know what I mean? Right, so that's fair enough, but you can buy tenants in the supermarket. I always found that funny, but it's a convenient buy, right?
Oh, it's
But-
mental experts like Gav that want their tenants
Or the
delivered
five
fucking-
folk that for whatever reason like Tennant's IPA.
But at the same time, they're going because they like one specific beer or it's convenient buying, right? So you're going to go to your local, as in your favourite brewery. There'll be folk in Edinburgh and there'll be folk in Glasgow, there'll be folk in Aberdeen that will order cases of Madry in because it's their favourite beer, right? I get that, right? But that's not the folk that this is targeted at, the indie beer thing, because they're never really going to be bothered about whether
Nobody turned that.
whether Fierce is independent or not. If you're in Aberdeen
Aye.
looking to buy Madry, do you know what I mean?
But then I get what you're saying because again, technically kind of agreeing with you. The people that will be looking for independent are the people like craft beer wankers like us, but we're already kind of educated enough, and we already know who's independent, who's no. So it just feels.
Does it not shove it in a gate and flip flopping back? I'm like,
Aye, so ma.
fucking. Does it not just fall into the same category as you Callum camera badges? Or the other
Aye.
one is hollow for me, or a damp squib, is the cast mark.
Yeah.
Cast mark has zero weight. I don't think so anyway. And I'm happy to be proved wrong on how cast mark deliver the marks and stuff out. But I've been in some places that have noted cast mark, and I would give them 0 marks.
Yeah.
unless there's a fundamental shift in terms of, every pub must have at least one independent brewery,
Never happened.
and or a set
Yeah.
or a supermarket section rather than having a craft section, having an independent section where this person, just like your organic section in the fruit and veg, or just in your free range section and your
Yeah.
poultry and all this shit, right? Is there an independent shelf in the big shops and the supermarkets, the place where 99% of people are purchasing the product,
But-
purchasing the beer that they're drinking?
But what makes it independent though, like in a way? Because I've just done that beer checker too,
Aye.
and I've
I
wrote,
can't get it to load up.
and
You
I've
know,
wrote, are they independent? Innocent Gun, independent brewery, and a SEBA member. Well, I know that's not true.
Right.
They did
So
ask me to
funny
email
you
the office.
did that. Funny because
So who
Innocent
owns
Gun
Innocent Gun?
is it
Tenants.
tenants.
Yeah.
Because I typed in Innocent Gun and it came up independent. I was like, I'm sure that's wrong, but maybe I'm wrong.
So, but this is the point. Tenants don't, and please, aggregators out there, if there is somebody that listens that knows the real details, I'm happy for somebody to give us the exact details, right? But tenants don't own, they don't own majority share of Innocent Gun. I don't believe. I do believe they'll still be under the 50% mark. So, does that still mean that they're independent?
Oh, right, okay.
Do you know what I mean? I'm just going to double check. So
That's a bit of a grey area.
100%. Beaver
Being like
Town,
a Tom Brady minority owner.
minority owner. Beaver Town owned by Heineken. Okay.
I think it's the more we talk about it,
The
Like,
equity
and-
stake is 8%.
there you
Is
go.
that right?
What was that?
This is an article for the 1st of February 2021. The deal will see the manufacturer sell and distribute Innocent Guns portfolio in the UK and Ireland and gain an equity stake of 8% in the company.
Nah, that's more now.
That's
definitely.
CNC's original
It's probably
proportion.
increased over the last couple of years.
But so there you go. So are you allowed to take a bit back in, and then it still allows you to be independent? So there's grey areas here already. Like, so, in all honesty with you,
I think we should try and get somebody to talk about it.
that would be a great conversation. the thing for me is the easiest way if you want to support anybody, if you want to support independent beer, if it's no craft beer or independent beer, then just like honestly, you're better googling breweries near me. Do you know what I mean? And then opening up the search to 10 miles, 20 miles, 50 miles away. Because, you know, if you open the thing up to 50 miles, there's going to be, I can guarantee everybody in the country is going to find a brewery within 50 miles. Like there's
Christ.
hundreds of breweries. I think highlighting the independent is great, right? But at the end of the day, it's the educate, and I must say this every time we have a conversation. It's the education piece behind it in terms of like where's the beers coming from, what is it made from, like so. We've done the Stewart's, the craft beer kitchen. We're going to be doing platforms, beer school in a few weeks, right? These are two things that are like helping break down the barriers to showcase what beer actually is, where it comes from, how it's made, all that kind of stuff, which is only then going to help educate people to understand what the stresses and all that go through of independent and small, and well, actually, for beer makers worldwide. But I think then it allows you to then appreciate the, like Gil said, their artisan products. You know, so support that way. But anyway, I'm going to stand off my wee soapbox and let somebody else.
No, it was a good.
I've
Last
got another
point.
wee quick news thing.
Go on then.
Oh, have you?
So,
You go.
Miguel had the last point.
My final point, because I have to get the last word in and the first word in, I know, is that a lot of these, like if you look at the two that we've mentioned, other than a wee innocent gun flare up there at the end, it's a bit like arthritis. Yeah. But other than a wee innocent gun flare up
Herpes, nearly.
towards the end there, we mentioned Camden and the other mob.
Beavertown.
Beaverton. That's it. Beavertown. That, I don't think, and I wasn't drinking it right back at the beginning. I know they were good back at the beginning. They were different back at the beginning. The alcohol equity firms, if you like, because they're no bought them or invested in them to become part of their stable, did not buy them for the beer, for the liquid they produce.
Yeah,
I
agreed.
don't think so at all. They bought them
it's
for
the
the
brand.
intellectual property. They brought them for the IP, which is what everybody's hanging about for now. Everybody's scraping about looking for intellectual property that's unique and different, and that's what people were doing. They rode and crested that wave in their IP and their kind of hipstery, kind of slightly off the wall approach to things at the time that was a wee bit different and that kind of edgy, if you want to call it that, which I think is tame side of things at that point in time, is what those two companies bought. And that's what a lot of these people who will, I no doubt, try and get, but they're getting that so that they can stand out. They want to stand out, I think, the people who will take on this mark and try and make it something. But they also want to stand out beside everybody else alongside that, because they think it might give them a chance. And I
Look
think,
at Mash Gang.
well, aye, and they've done it, and but I think, hopefully, anyway, the sector they're in, if you put it that way, is in amongst kombucha and things like that, which I think is a totally different.
Yeah.
I mean, I've yet to see Coca-Cola kombucha. I don't think that'll ever happen. Although I could be eating my hat here in a few years' time, but I think they're in a different sphere. I don't think they're a health drink by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the stuff they do with flavours and ingredients and stuff is a bit off the wall, and is a bit different, and is truly IP.
Yep.
Mash Gang, which is
No,
what's been purchased and let that drinks company who do all this other stuff into, hopefully anyway, into a beer. Although they did a Swiftish disappearing act on at the Big Swally, which I don't know why that was. We didn't ask, and I'm not throwing them under the bus for that. But they weren't there. They weren't there by about 8:30.
It was earlier than that.
Before that, maybe 7. Yeah, it was pretty sharpish. But I think we were a particularly boisterous Saturday night crowd, which probably didn't lend ourselves to an alcohol-free offering. But yeah,
Boisterous.
I think it's IP. And I think all these breweries that'll take that on, they're looking for something, and they'll use whatever leverage they can get, and good on them. And I hope they make it into a proper mark. Cal,
Aye.
you had another wee news story.
I go count.
I did. Apologies, I missed last week. So I'm not sure if this was mentioned. Did you talk about Not That California
No,
last week?
No.
No. So I was delighted to see on social media. Kirsty pointed it out to me. An article in the Falkirk Herald last week before, that the planning authorities have finally given the green light to Andre and Not That California to get their beer hall up and running in Falkirk. So it's a nice segue when we're talking about independent and supporting local. This is a chap who we've had on the podcast and is planning to turn an old bus station in Falkirk into a 27 tap European style beer hall / live music and concert venue in Falkirk, with dedicated taps for local, small, independent Scottish craft beer, and maybe one for West as well. So we're as I say, we're big fans. We contributed to the
Got a table.
we contributed to the crowd fund, which went fabulously well. And we can't wait to get in and get a seat at our table and have some beers and a blether with Andre.
Here.
The place
tell
is
you,
incredible, by the way. Honestly, the size of the place.
See if we walk in the first time and somebody's on our table, fucking riot.
So
My
that is what
was the
that is
ice
what
cream
the
shop.
that is what the beer industry in Scotland and in the UK needs. It needs not independent breweries, and we don't need to be shouting about independent local breweries. We need independent pubs. We need places. We need places where people can gather and drink at local beer. Because the problem for local beer isn't about the quality of the product. The problem is accessibility and market share and getting their product out there to lots of people for them to taste. And this is the kind of thing that's going to highlight that when you walk into that place. And like Mark said, you know, if we're in the central belt, so we're quite lucky. But if we were to say in a 20-mile radius of where we are in West Lothian, you know, we could fill 27 taps easily with quality beer, and that's what we need. That's what we need. So anyway, carry on.
100%.
Forward.
And it's
It's called the Rock Bottom, by the way, just in case
Yes.
everybody's looking for it.
The Rock
Nice.
Beer Hall.
the
People's elbow next.
it's what it reminds me of what Morrison's Cold Beer Company could have been.
Should have.
That's fucking
in
lovely.
Stirling. And
Yep.
with the tap space that was there was loads and loads. And even at the time, I know it was macro stuff, but at least they had it was different gear for head to tail. Imagine that was.
You
all-
remember how exciting that was when we went in, total novices and total ignoramuses when it came to beer and where beer came from and things like that. But there was you know
Better than
so many different beers. Can you imagine that space dedicated to 10, 15, 20 different breweries? That'd be amazing.
Lovely stuff.
Speaking of a space that was dedicated to 10, 15, 20 breweries, we should probably move on and talk about where we all were
Okay, do that. Go on
the
then.
weekend.
European
Well,
segue of the year so far. I think.
Go on then. Go for it. You gentlemen ventured off to the Big Swally, Edinburgh, presented by Vault City. Probably one of the last big beer festival in Scotland, north of the border. And yeah, I'm glad you never sent too many pictures in the group chat, because the first 4 or 5 that you sent, I was proper FOMO, and it looked
you would have been
fucking
jealous.
awesome.
You would have been jealous, Gav. It was, as Gav said, the Big Swally in Edinburgh, presented by Vault City and the Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant, bringing over the quality festival that he puts on in Dunfermline every year, bringing that over to Edinburgh and upscaling, basically. And I think we can all agree that it was a really, really good event.
It was excellent.
you know, a fantastic space, the Corn Exchange. I know that they had some red tape and there was like various safety briefings and rules and all that kind of stuff, which I get that, you know, that these things had to be adhered to and stuff. But it was a phenomenal space, even down to the fact that there was a massive line of water taps for you to rinse your glasses out. Do you know, even that kind of attention to detail. Big stage, DJ followed by live music. But
The
first and
pro
foremost,
the Proclaimers.
aye. The Proclaimers tribute was amazing. They were great. I mean, we were all smashed when they came on, and we were all singing our hearts out. But
I think which is exactly the point of lubrication. You need the Proclaimers to make
Aye,
it.
no.
absolutely. But,
Couldn't
but
imagine being
getting back,
drunk at a beer festival.
Getting back to brass tacks, the beer was tremendous. It really was.
Aye, the main show of the beer festival, like American beers coming over. I said to you guys when we were off before we were recording, very jealous, and asking you guys how was it like. And we've all had those moments where we've had American beers before, and we're like, oh, this is like fucking, this is blowing my mind. This is new level kind of beer. Was it the same vibe? Were you still getting those same reactions at yourself, or are breweries here in the UK catching up a wee bit?
I'd say so. I think I said to you as well that before started recording the Friends Fest stuff that Cloudwater did in Manchester a few years ago. I tried Trillium and Other Half and Evil Twin and places, breweries in of that conversation anyway.
Yeah.
At that time, and they were all otherworldly, even in comparison to. Not even in comparison to, but alongside your Cloudwaters and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the race was a hell of a lot closer this time, in the same room as Track and in the same room as Verdant. Overtone even in there. Wylam even were up there gunning with them. I think there were a few standouts for the American ones. I know that, but I would say it was a hell of a lot closer race in terms of beers. Very IPA heavy and very New England IPA heavy, which obviously geographically a lot of the breweries that came over were from the East Coast, which stands to reason it's easier to get here from the East Coast of the US. But there was big names in there, but I thought it was a hell of a lot closer race. I don't know about you guys. What do you guys think overall, and what breweries would you pick out of the American ones first of all, and then we'll go on for there to the others.
I would agree with that. I think it was close. There was a few disappointers for me in terms of the Americans. I felt like they were a bit underwhelming. I had the Other Half beer. It was one of the first ones I headed for. The Green City 7% IPA. Had it a couple of times in can. Blew my mind in terms of the flavour. The draft was I wrote here it was a poor representation. For me, it just kind of underwhelmed big time. The brewery that kind of stood out for me, I'm kind of going to jump back and forward here, but typical Mark, but was Hudson Valley.
Yep.
Their Kolsch was delicious, 6% Kolsch. Like I must have had 3 of them. Like I was like I'm fed up running after IPAs. You know, there's Trillium. There was the Nelson one that they had done too, which was called Theta. A 7% in New England IPA with Nelson, and that was incredible. But it was just too many hops, man. I was like, fuck this. Like I need some lager and simple and all the rest of it. But that was utter delicious. And then the brewery that I had never heard of, and we had a really good chat with the chaps, was the Chicago outfit of Microphone Brewery. I think it's maybe Mike or Phone, but because the guy's name is Mike. But anyway, their IPA was really, really good. And then Big Joe managed to hook Gil up with a wee cheeky taste of their barrel-aged maple syrup, like coffee, chocolate, 14.36% thing. And it was like...
Sessionable.
There was nothing sessionable with that. It was like... It was like coffee, chocolate, dessert, and a glass.
Gil came back to the table, right, and he had this in a plastic right? And we were all sitting at the table, so it was me and the two guys. James was there. My brother-in-law Stephen was there. Jamie and his wife Emma were sitting with us, and we all had a wee taste, and it got finished, and the cup got sat on the table. And see, for about the next half an hour, I'm saying to myself, can I still fucking taste that beer, can I taste? And we were moving on, drinking all this other, and then I realised it was the cup that was sitting on the table. You could smell it for about fucking 6 yards away, this maple syrup. I had to go and put the cup in the bucket because it was tainting everything that I was drinking. But it was like fucking motor oil. Like, it was so thick, but it was good. It was good. A good beer.
They were the one that they stood out to me because I had never heard of them before, and that in Hudson Valley, like we've done Trillium and other half.
I mean, Trillium and other half were the first two that we went to, and the one that I had from Trillium was the Melker Street, 7.2% IPA. It was amazing. And then I had, for other half, I had a double called Laced in Space. And that was heavenly. It was just smooth and creamy, 8.5%. You know, it was tremendous. But talking about the ones that Mark had mentioned, Hudson Valley also had a sour IPA, which was a really nice change of pace, and that's what we got. It got to that point, like you say, Mark, we were so IPA heavy that he started hunting out those other styles and those other types of beer. And the 7% sour IPA with blueberry and hibiscus. It had lactose in it, so it had that body, that moreish sort of sweet, but it wasn't the sourness took away that kind of overwhelming sweetness. The other one I liked was Burley Oak. I thought they were pretty good, and in particular their double IPA called Luke City. It was a New Zealand double IPA, and it was just like melon. I mean, it never had Nelson in it.
NZ Tops.
But it was NZ Tops. That's what it said. But it was just melon for days. It was so bright and fresh and zingy, and it was like it tasted so light and fresh for an 8% beer.
Yeah,
Didn't drink like it at all.
Awesome stuff.
From
the like UK, like, so that's like the US side of the pond. Like UK wise, like standouts for you guys. Gilroy, what was your standout brewery if you had one?
Just before the UK stuff, the other one that was worth a shout in terms of, there was a couple of European.
I was going to
in
hit
there.
them,
There was Morse Little, which they are put. We spoke about that, the microphone as being kind of motor oil esque. That brewery, Morse Little are purveyors, specialists in motor oil. It's very much Castrol adjacent. Everything they do.
Yeah, there was a Swedish one as well. I'm going to butcher this.
Here we go.
And it was the Elm 11.
Right.
And they had one that Jamie and Emma were like falling over themselves drinking this beer. But it was called Pioneers and Explorers, and it was called it was classed as a pulp, and it was one of these ones that was like fucking. It was blurred the lines. And Mark and I had
wasn't it?
Right.
Mark and I had a wee chat about this, right? And it was Nordic berries and wildflower honey sour, and it was only 5%, right? But this was like, it was like melted ice cream. It was like melted gelato in a glass, right? And you know, we both agreed that we didn't think it was beer, really, but we also both agreed that it was an absolutely stunning drop of liquid, whatever the liquid was and whatever classification you want to give it. It was absolutely phenomenal, and just what the doctor ordered at that time. And speaking of that, the other brewery that I want to give a shout out for absolute plums is Baybrook. I don't know if he's visited Baybrook or drank any of the beer, but in amongst this illustrious company of IPAs, double IPAs, sours and 15% stouts and all the rest of it, Baybrook rocks up, and they had two beers. They had a Hell's and a Keller beer. And it was one of the last beers I had, and it was their 5% Keller beer, and I had 2/3, and it was just dreamy. As I say, solid beer, and you know, just to rock up and just have confidence in your product like that. And it was, and rightly so, because it was cracking beer.
Good stuff. Delk,
in
any UK standouts?
UK, I thought Wylam's selection of beer was really, really good. I basically got stuck in to them, had a good blether with the boys, and I just, I think I tried all four of their beers, at least three of them anyway, and like just, I said that to them without like trying to sound cheeky. It's like uncomplicated and it does exactly what you want it. And
Aye.
when you're trying loads of different stuff, I found that like quite just nice. I didn't have to overthink it, and it's like the Keller beer that Cal mentioned. Like that was exactly that. I knew it was flavoursome. It was kind of what the doctor ordered at the time of the festival.
Yeah.
The beer of the day for me was the Belgian Quad. To be fair, the 12. I've wrote here from however Miguel pronounced that brewery's name.
Merstlutl, I think that's it. I don't think
Mate, I'm quite happy for that to be it.
Merstlutl.
Merstlutl.
There's an O and an E in there that are flummoxing me.
Onto share. It was just, it was uber sessionable at 12%. Like it had everything banana, like the esters coming off it. It had a slight bit of booziness, but in terms of like just to kind of catch the tongue bitterness, it was just honestly it was delish. It really was. New Barnes had a really lovely Pilsner there as well to give the Edinburgh Brewery a wee shout. The Plato 12 Pils, I think it was called. And again, that was just like easy drinking. But
my beer of the day. Sorry, Mark, if you weren't finished. My beer of the day goes to Track, and it was their Lucid Dreams Gold Top Dipper. And as I said to the guys prior to recording, I took loads of notes on my phone. I was determined to have a good account of myself and not be a blathering mess. So I took loads of notes. But the only thing that I wrote about this was one word, no spaces, holy fucking shit. And then I followed that up with Track doing Track things.
So
I say I did not drink a Track brewery. Like I didn't drink a Track beer. Like and that I think that highlights how good the selection was.
And how fucking lazy you are because they were at the top left hand
They
corner.
were up the top. They were
And you were in the bottom right.
he found another beer before he got to that corner. Gilroy, any standout beers of the day?
They were all excellent.
Aye,
The quad was superb. The list was just unbelievable.
It's gonna be hard to pick one with that list, man.
Aye, I thought Slasher was particularly good. Jakehead was just Jakehead as it is. It's superb. But Slasher, I thought was a good account of itself in comparison to the other kind of sweeter IPAs that were kicking about. I thought another shout out to another Kolsch. Luke, we were talking about that kind of porting a storm, if you like, amongst all the flavours. I didn't think Overtones Kolsch was bad either.
No, it was good.
Kolsch wasn't bad either. It was
a wee bit sweeter though, wasn't it? Was it sweeter?
Aye, it kind of had a wee bit of something different. I did a bit of a comparison. I had the Hudson one, and then went and found. I was looking for other Kolsches to see if there was any, and I noticed the Overtone had one, so I tried that as well. I thought they were all excellent. Tempest were doing. I didn't get much. I don't think I got any yet because we were too busy drinking all the other stouts. But I know that they were doing wee pours out of their super duper barrel aged stuff at times as well, which served everybody well.
I never had any Tempest, but James came back and he had a 7.5% coffee porter from Tempest. Which was a standout for me as well because you know we've kind of dragged Tempest down slightly over the last sort of year about their performance and stuff, but this was back to what we love about Tempest, those strong, dark, you know, really complex. I mean and it was a coffee porter as well, so it was far more coffee than you know sweet dessert kind of beer. It was just really complex roasted coffee flavours. It was delicious.
Awesome stuff, boys. Sounded awesome. Yes, not jealous whatsoever. Marky Boy's got a bit of fun for us, apparently. He's got a new wee segment that he wants to give a go on this week's podcast. Let's give it a wee whirl, shall we?
Keep ad ditch.
Nice.
Fucking quick.
So keypad ditch, really simple. A few of these are basically the rules are there's going to be 3 things pop up. You've got to keep one. You've got to add something to it to make one better, right? And you've got to get rid of one completely, like forever. So
Roger.
This is a completely novel idea. I don't think I've ever come across this.
No.
I've never, honestly, this is what happens when you get asked for, can you come up with something? And I was sitting in the car for like 3 minutes. I wonder.
It is. I like it.
A couple of these will be, I think they'll be quite straightforward and we'll batter through. A couple of them might cause some discussion, and then others, there might just be outright wars about them, so who knows.
Good now.
So I'll start really simple, right? So it's funny he's mentioned some macros. So keep, add, ditch. We have Menabrea, Madre, and Moretti. So you get to keep one, you get to ditch one, and you get to add something to one of them to make it better. Quick
Can I
decision.
just say we get rid of fucking Madre?
Yeah, I don't think you'll have many arguments with me on the Madry stuff.
Get rid of Madre.
I will ditch Madry.
One Moretti and what's the other one?
Menabrea,
Menabrea.
which is premium tenants, basically.
Oh fuck! I was doing it,
I didn't mind Menabrea.
but I was going to say keep Menabrea.
What is? Oh my god, that's a shit.
I was.
Well, I wouldn't have. What was it? Moretti was the other one, right?
Yeah. What would it add?
Well,
What would it add to?
My add to Menabrea would be taste.
Mere flavour.
Menabrea brewed in the UK?
Menabrea's brewed in Well Park at the tenants, aye.
Right, I didn't know that.
Alright.
Well, let's
I
the
don't
keep
think
let's
they
the let's go keep Moretti then and add flavour to Menabrea.
Add flavour to Menabrea. Right, there we go. I like that one. Right. Cool. Keep in that one. Right, nice. Keep, add, ditch. Right, so we're on Jarl. This is all cask beer, right? This one's cask. Jarl,
Right.
Landlord from Timothy Taylor's, or Doombar.
Ditch Dunbar.
Ditch Dunbar.
Keep Timothy Taylor.
Keep Timothy, or add, did you say?
I know, I agree with that. Keep Timothy.
Timothy Taylor, because
You
Timothy Taylor had a really good account of themselves at Gravity as well.
Hmm.
Landlord was tasting excellent. So what are we adding to?
What we add to Jarl?
2%
ABV.
ABV.
I was going to
There
say.
Can we have a barrel yarrow?
I've had this written on my bit of paper. I was like, whatever one they add, I guarantee they're going to say ABV to all these beers. Guaranteed.
We need yarrow at 6%.
Right, nice. Right, we're moving on.
I think Landlord, I think Timothy Taylor, for what it is a cracking
I think the
cask
Yeah.
beer.
That's a job.
Right, we're moving on. I don't know if you all know these ones or no again, but we're still keeping it relatively local. So we've got we're on 3 beers again. So we're on Caesar Augustus, Williams Brothers, Schiehallion from Harveston, and Palozzi, which is Edinburgh Beer Factory.
Ditch Palazzo.
Get rid of Palazzi. Fucking anything Edinburgh Beer Factory. Fucking.
It was really funny. I was like trying to make this so that there was like, right, cool, Palozzi.
Ditch Palazzo. Can we?
See, it's kind of hard because I would have Schiehallion and Caesar Augustus fairly adjacent.
No.
So
So what we
So-
did, we're just going to put them both together and make one beer.
There you go.
I would have Caesar Augustus, but I would change the. I would oomph the IPA side of the recipe. I would go for. I would make it more. But I would bring it back to what I remember it being by adding bitterness.
Aye. Okay. I'll
Make it
Schiehallion-
like bring it closer
Schiehallion-
to a cold IPA and leave Schiehallion where it is, but brewed
Okay.
properly and not fucked about with.
I like it.
I agree with that.
nice one. Right, here we go.
I was thinking I was going to get an argument there, but hey ho.
No. I think you. To be honest with you, you've basically ticked. You're following my boxes so far. So you're doing all right.
He's going to fling a cat amongst the pigeons by
There is.
listing-
There's going to be like
Ketchup,
No,
mustard, and brown sauce shortly.
be
He's going
Ouija.
to list the other 3 podcast presenters and see which ones we need to get.
We're going to add a hat to Callum, and then right.
I'm sorry, but if there's one person that needs a fucking hat, surely it's the one we need here.
I'm not involved in this, so that's how this works. So that's fine.
Are you the presenter again?
Yeah, he's finding a hat that he's nicked.
There he is. He's
Oh,
That's just fucking it is.
I didn't think he had, but there you go.
Ah, there you go.
Right,
Fucking hell. That hat's hoaching.
I've made it. I had started quite easy for you.
The
So
band
here
on
we
the
go.
back of that is screaming.
3.
That is that.
Oh dear God. Right. My one strand of hair was getting too hot under the hat.
Aye.
Right. So next 3. Let's see how we go with these 2. We're going with Sure Shots Milson,
Right.
Dea's Steady Rolling Man, or Beaks Parade. Keep, add, or ditch.
Oh, steady rolling man. Steady rolling man, and then what was the beak one?
I'm ditching Milson. I'm keeping Steady Rolling Man, and I am adding
Adding what?
adding
Fucking glitter to the can.
I'm adding 150 mils onto the can.
That was going to be my thing. Was Beak Parade? What we're adding is we're adding radius to the distribution.
Radius.
we're adding hex, and we're adding distribution miles.
You know what? Actually, see when you say I actually agree with that. Get rid of Mills. There's nothing wrong with it, but if I'm picking between the 3,
I mean, when you think about when we went into the Sure Shot tap room, I think every single one of the 4 of us had a pint of Milson straight away. But it's just, it doesn't quite sit in the same wheelhouse as Steady Rolling Man or Parade.
Yeah.
My controversial argument is ditch Steady Rolling Man.
That's where I sat. That was my one. That's where I had.
I think I've got it. I don't think it. I'm going to, just for the sake of argument here and to generate the kind of conversation
I like it.
But I think it's played it.
Would you switch them? Would you switch them over then? Like maybe would it be keep Parade as it is, and then whether if they've changed the recipe?
I would love Milson to have the same standing as your Steady Rolling Man.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, for me though, I think on like flavour of beer alone, I think it does. I think the issue is Dea have a bigger representation in the
That's
market.
what I mean. That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
This is why I put it in.
So you're
to be
adding
honest.
market share.
Market share, adding market share, adding hex, adding distribution. So we got.
We've both beat lorries.
Aye.
Glad we've done that. That's
More
a good
beats.
investment.
I like this. Right. Supermarket beer offering only.
Yo.
Oh,
I
that
missed
was a good freeze. You missed that.
What did that?
freeze.
That was full kiss. That was good kiss face. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Right. Supermarket beers only. Northern Monk, Vocation, North. Actually, and then I had Tiny Rebel in there before too, but so we can.
I mean, that would make it. That would be too easy.
Too easy
because that would be ditch Tiny Rebel. I think you ditch North. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Ditch the North. You're adding variety to Northern Monk so that they're not just releasing 50 million hazy pales a year.
And crisp beers.
Aye.
And then you're keeping vocation. Like,
I like
I was the other way around.
Nah, I think Jaipur's.
No, that's Thornbridge, mate.
that's Thornbridge.
That's
I
not.
think-
I
well,
was
So what's the
Love and
what's
hate.
the
love and hate.
Love and
Or
hate?
life and death, sorry.
Oh,
You can't. I mean, I've had that on kegs. I've got a keg in the garage. I've had it for a million years.
mine would be bring love and hate or death and whatever the fuck it is back to what it used to be like.
Yeah, but say that's what I'm saying. Supermarket, it's no happening.
But how much of that is winding it back or you? This is the
fair
good
point.
point you were making when we were talking about
Aye.
Fair point. Fair point.
breweries that have had investment elsewhere. Is
I think we'd be far better served. I think we and the public would be far better served if we added variety to Northern Monk, because they've got such a large share of the supermarket shelves. When you go into Morrison's, you go into a Tesco, Northern Monk have got such a large share, but they have such a small variety of beer styles. It's either a big fuck off stout or it's a hazy pale. Give me a fucking cold IPA, give me a lager, give me something. Show me how good you are at making other types of beer. So that's what I would add. I would add variety to Northern Monk. I would keep vocation the same, and I would get North the fuck because they.
And this
Can we add-
message,
can we
this
add
message
to
was, this message was brought to you by your local MP and future president, Mr. Beer.
Can we add in a big fallout between Northern Monk and Aunt Bessie?
Oh, that'd be good.
Can that be the addition? Can the addition be a scandal between Northern Monk and Aunt Bessie, so we never get a fucking rhubarb crumble or Yorkshire pudding beer ever again?
Right, okay, I'm one side now. Okay, I'll play ball.
I'll make a
And Bessie goes to the sun. Northern Monk had their toad in my hole.
That's it. News of the world.
That was a bad time to take a drink.
Brilliant.
Then go to the next.
Right, I've got 3 left, so I'll start with the easier ones. Edinburgh based, Cold Town, Barney's, Campervan.
Oh, fucking
We're
hell.
talking about the
Fucking
whole breweries here. So you've got to keep one, you've got to add something
And
to one.
everybody that works for them.
What was that?
Jesus Christ.
And everybody that works for them.
Everybody, aye.
That's
I
hard.
was going to be a wee bit harsher and add a couple of the bigger ones in, but I thought I'll keep it kind of small.
Right, I'll go first.
Right.
Right, I'm going to keep Campervan.
Right.
I'm going to ditch Cold Town, and I'm going to add Cold Town's tap room to Barney's.
Barney's, that's what I was thinking. That's literally what I was thinking.
Right, so see if you can go, because that space, right, didn't get the, and the beer's decent there. Let's just no beat about bush, right?
Yeah.
The beer's decent, but see that Cold Town space in the Grass Market with that roof terrace, and it's just proper good place to go and drink good beer. So if we could move Barney's beer into that space, I'd be quite happy.
This is a quick way. This is a quick way of us burning bridges, man. Fuck
Oh,
me.
I told you this was my goal, was to
Jesus
cause
Cause issues.
we
The
should
thing is, I don't disagree with your setup there, Cal, because it's my first thing in my head was ditch Cold Town, but then my second thing was replace Cold Town's tap room with one of the other two, regardless of who it was.
I think definitely, if you're going to give the Cold Town space to anybody, it's going to be Barney's, because I think
Barney's.
the other thing I would have said to add to Barney's was reach.
Yeah.
They're definitely the hidden gem of, and I know there's others there, but we've spoken about the others, newer ones on the scene, the Closets and stuff like that of the world. Barney's, I think, has been there for a longer period of time, but for whatever reason, where they are, the south side isn't particularly glamorous, I would say, in comparison to the rest of Edinburgh, like Leith, for example. It's got obviously it's got the trams and stuff. You're hoofing it if you're going to the south side. So obviously there's the buses and stuff like that, but it's not the same, and you want reach for them. So putting them more centrally in that kind of Grass Market space would do wonders for them, but also do wonders for the Grass Market, because without an independent tap room. If we are ditching who we're ditching, then we need an independent space in the Grassmarket, which is
Indeed,
Arnie's going to
indeed.
fill very nicely. I know they've
Agreed.
got the bull punch and things like that in Leith, but they need a hub.
All right, you're trying to coat round this. I just wanted you to be like
Yeah, I know.
slating.
Right,
stuff
two
away.
left.
Two left.
Two left.
All right, I had the other Edinburgh one, but I won't. I'll do this one instead. So, Tartarus, Holy Goat, Vault City.
Fucking hell.
Oh,
Jesus fuck.
Keep, add, ditch.
Fuck me, man.
I didn't
Right,
say
I'll
make it easy.
pitch in first here. No, fuck. Oh no, I know. There you go. We ditch Holy Goat. We keep Tartarus as it is. Hold on, hold your phone. We ditch Holy Goat. We keep Tartarus as they are, and we add the Holy Goat team to Vault City,
back to
and back to how it was before.
So, Johnny,
that's a good
reunited.
get out.
That's a bit of cop out.
Well, you
That's-
give
well,
it a
that's-
go.
I mean, that's the finest cop outery I've ever seen. That would do the same. My addition back to them was kind of the same thing, but was bring back the glass bottles and bring
Oh,
back the
God,
sour
fuck.
IPA.
Oh, now you're talking. Now you're talking.
So we're still quick ditch. Holy Goat. It's just no more fermented.
I might ditch Tartarus.
Nah.
Only on the basis that their bar doesn't fit through the doors at Summer Hall. You can't get in. So I don't know how you can.
That was the whole point.
It's
Like,
really difficult.
What a
I think
fucking
the cop-out is the way to
shit
go.
fucking thing.
well, here's how I'm going to finish it with, and I feel like I felt like that was a good one, but I feel like
He's an argument.
well, I don't know if it's an argument, like, because there's no, like, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, let's be honest. But the next three is Verdant, Track, and Cloudwater.
Oh, fucking Christ on a bike.
That's
Because
Cloudwater.
what I actually
Cloudwater,
done
aye.
originally was I broke the beers down, but he's kiboshed the beers quite quickly, so I've went straight to breweries.
No, I agree with you. Cloudwater.
That's Cloudwater.
I agree.
Aye.
I'm not giving you a reason, because if I give you a reason, purely on the basis of thinking quickly, aye, that's Cloudwater. Keep
Keep
Track.
Verdant. Keep Verdant.
See,
Why would you?
Add a Scottish tap room to Verdant.
Oh no.
They
Okay.
can have
Oh,
Cold
okay.
Towns back. I don't know why we've got Cold Town vacating that lot there.
They
For whatever
vacated
reason,
it
that
twice now.
It's vacant. You can have Brewing.
They can
notice how-
help bring
you'll
it.
You'll notice how the last two have been remarkably silent because I didn't want to ruffle no feathers.
the thing is, these are like the breweries we're talking about were you're picking hairs in terms of
Oh.
like I've just named six. I've named 9 of the best breweries in the UK, and in all honesty, in terms of like spaces and whatever in the last ones. And the whole point was just for
Aye, let's be honest. Particularly the last question, Track, Verdant, and Cloudwater. They're never going to hear this, so
Exactly.
so
No,
fuck
hide
them. Let's get rid of them all, and then let's start.
Kim will add. We'll add a tap room in my garage. There you go.
To be fair, you've answered most of them pretty well. I say there was a few easier ones teeing up. I thought the Milson Steady Rolling Man Parade one was going to cause a wee bit more of a issue, but you ditched Milson pretty quickly. To be fair, which I thought was a shocker.
Me,
I
would get. Like I said, Steady Rolling Man's played it.
Uh,
I'm in, but anyway,
I'm
there you
kinda-
go.
It's
A bit of a
permanent
laugh.
tap killings. Come on.
I'm kind of semi flip flopping on that decision. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm
won't
going
lie.
to
But,
start doing this on a weekly basis. Is just randomly shouting out 3 breweries or 3 beers and just saying like keep, add or ditch or maybe not add because basically all you're doing is adding a tap room to Edinburgh or Glasgow or whatever.
Really back
So it might be
Right, going to need to come up with some rules because we managed to sidestep the
quite a
pitch
lot.
thing
Yeah.
quite a lot. So
Aye, the ad section was heavily like, Holy Goat team just joins Vault City, and we still get them. Woohoo. Well, no, I enjoyed that. That was the first rendition of Mark's new segment.
Keep Ad Ditch.
Good fun. Liked it, enjoyed it. Good fun. Anything else, gentlemen, you want to add to this episode's proceedings?
nope.
Not
Well
for
done,
me.
Marcus Forsyth.
Aye, excellent job. I enjoyed that. That was good fun. As always, wherever you listen to the podcast, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell, the ding-a-ling-a-ling, to be notified of every single episode. You can show your support by giving us a 5-star rating. Helps us massively. So if you take a time, give us a 5-star rating, drop a comment, helps the algorithm and all that jazz. You can show your official support by going to patreon.com/Be Your Fridge Podcast, where you get every episode unedited and early as well. And you'll get some homebrew and potentially some of the All This Seas. Also, head to patreon.com/Be Your Fridge Podcast. Myself, Gavin, and the boys Scott, Callum, and MD. Until next time, cheerio.
Au revoir.
1, 2,